Hello, beautiful people. Okay, today we're going to talk about marriage in modern society. The basis of marriage in many homes throughout the world and in Israel is progressively crumbling. We know that. We've seen that. We're seeing that. For years, we've been seeing that. This is one of the symptoms of sickness of the society that we call modern. This English word has been adopted by the Hebrew language as well. By a slight rearrangement of the letters, the Hebrew word for modern, modernit, becomes rebellious, mardonit. Indeed, rebelliousness is one of the main characteristics of present day civilization. Modern man's rebelliousness as an accepted axiom of social life sanctioned by the intellectual elite of the generation shows itself at every level, from the lowliest stratum right up to the very top, where we witness leaders who were unwilling to accept anything that does not fit their will and their whim. This same spirit of rebelliousness is splitting the protective walls of the home and bringing it to collapse. This phenomenon was foreseen by the prophets. The sages of the Talmud expanded on the same theme when they spoke of the disturbances that would characterize the present era as the heel of Mashiach. I've spoken of that before. So, the heel of Mashiach, which immediately precedes the Messianic age. Evidence of this situation is the constantly rising divorce rate, which has reached alarming proportions. I'm sure if you do a Google search, a simple Google search on that, it's quite surprising. A statistical study recently undertaken in the state of Israel revealed that 1 out of every 3 marriages will end in divorce. That's absolutely horrible. Many other couples find themselves with serious marital problems, but do not resort to divorce for various reasons, primarily for the sake of children. And the ideal situation of marital peace and harmony, however, is almost nowhere to be found. This dismal picture of dire consequences for today's youth, a large portion of whom come from broken homes, okay, it's a has dismal and dire consequences for our children today, because many of them come from broken homes. The psychological condition of these young people is precarious because they've had to experience the divorce of their parents. And I'm sure their friends' parents, and there's so much everywhere. The plague seems to have struck especially hard among the student body of upper class schools. And you can see that worldwide, but especially here in the United States and Israel as well. Joseph Collender, the head of psychological services for Israel's Department of Education, he presented a report showing that among schools in well-to-do neighborhoods of Tel Aviv and Ramat HaSharon, the proportion of students living in one-parent homes has reached 50%. And that was done in, I believe that was a report from 1984, if I'm correct. The disintegration of the family unit is the source of many of the problems of Israeli society and worldwide too, especially here in the United States. For a broken home is a natural breeding ground for what? For crime, for antisocial behavior. Recent years have seen an increase in cases of murder and suicide, you name it, against a background of family problems, just problems, you name it. There's so many problems. In our age, we've witnessed the dismantling of the moral framework that's been sanctified since time immemorial and has always guarded the existence of the Jewish people. Hand in hand with the weakening of this framework has gone the rise of a permissive atmosphere that's gnawing away at everything good in Israeli society. In the words of Shmuel Schnitzer, writing for the newspaper Ma'ariv, he wrote, quote, "The philosophy of permissiveness is rapidly dismantling the family unit. People have become so advanced that the basis has been undermined for such elementary values as respect for religion, love of country, simple honesty, and consideration of others. Unquote. Consideration of others, simple honesty, love of country, respect of religion. Wow. Well, against the background of family problems, the suicide rate among young people who have failed to find contentment and meaning in their lives has reached an all-time high. I mean, an all-time high. The brains of the very best psychologists and various educational specialists have grappled with this phenomenon, but they've not arrived at a clear and definite solution. It's almost certain that they will not arrive at one, for the roots of these problems reach into the profound depths of the Jewish soul, of people's souls. The essence and special nature of the Jewish soul remains a closed book to these experts whose secular intellectual background feeds from cultural roots that are divorced from Torah and render them incapable of solving problems whose essence is bound up with the sanctity of a Jewish soul. So that much more, how much more for a person that doesn't have a Jewish soul? And anyway, moving on. The sages then of Kabbalah see the structure of the soul as a many-colored mosaic of lights, intimately connected with the system of letters in the Hebrew, the holy tongue, the Hebrew language. These lights illumine in various ways, depending on the spiritual level a person has reached in the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvot. The Torah and the soul are both woven from the same threads, the letters of the holy tongue. That's why it's so important to learn Hebrew the best that you can. Just learn what you can. May it start with the Hebrew Aleph Bet. Just learn what you can. When the letters of the soul are in harmony with the letters of the Torah and its commandments, the result is wholeness, happiness, serenity. By the same token, any injury to the Torah and to its holy letters is an injury to the structure of the soul of the individual and the nation. Now think about that. Think on that deeply. Go back and listen again. Because our DNA strands hold the Hebrew letters and the tetragrammaton of our Creator, His name, His very name. All of us, every human being on this earth, whether you think it or not, we're all connected. Even the evil and wicked people have it in their DNA. And yes, it may be suppressed because of that evilness and wickedness, but it's there. And that person can turn around and make teshuvah. Anyway, that was a little rabbit trail. But according to the sages, the universe itself is also built from the letters of the Holy Tongue. And it is the Word of God that maintains the existence of everything. So it follows that any injury to the Torah injures not only mankind, humankind, but the entire universe. Contemplation of the root of the ever-growing contemporary struggles over Jewish values reveals that these battles result from the feelings of emptiness, disconnect that prevail in the secular camp. In accord with the spirit of rebelliousness that typifies the modern world, the secularists attempt to overthrow increasingly more accepted values in an effort to keep themselves occupied and to avoid facing the underlying source of current problems. Don't we see that? Well, in view of Kabbalah, the letters of the Holy Tongue are the fundamental building blocks of the soul. The DNA, like I said, just as atoms are the building blocks of the material world. The unfortunate accident at Chernobyl, I'm sure everyone remembers that, maybe not all, but most. That unfortunate accident at Chernobyl is a sufficient reminder of the power contained in the tiny little atom. Well, similarly, the letters of the Holy Tongue contain tremendous power Those letters of the Holy Tongue, they're alive. They contain tremendous power. People don't realize it. This power teaches us the importance of seemingly small details that have a profound effect on married life. Not just life itself, but married life especially too. When we begin to understand the basic principles of marriage hidden within the Hebrew language, this sheds a clear light on those small but vital details. One who contemplates them will discover an unexpected reserve of power and energy with which to conduct his or her married life in the most harmonious and beautiful manner. This can lead and will lead to happiness and to the rectification of the family unit and the whole world. It starts with the person, goes into the family, goes into the home, goes into the city, the state, the society, the world, and finally the universe. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you today. If you have any comments or any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and like, share, and subscribe. Shalom.